Right, let's have some morning after thoughts from New Zealand Ireland. Any thoughts, gents, before I go off up on deck? Any thoughts on the game? Can't remember a minute of it. Okay, well, okay, so they're not going to be any use. Don't forget to hit subscribe on the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and leave your comment down below. Yeah, so sort of, I'm not going to apologise, but obviously I'm here in Amsterdam with a bunch of mates. So I probably didn't get all the thoughts I wanted to about the game out after the game, but here we go. We're staying on a boat it's like north of Amsterdam. I don't know exactly where. NDSM, is it? The ferries go to the centre of Amsterdam just from over there. Anyway, I'm going to find a spot to. Oh, let's go up here. Okay, yeah. Okay, let's go up here. There we go. Let's talk about the game. So some takeaways in no particular order. These are just some thoughts on Ireland versus New Zealand. I think the overwhelming thought is that the game was underwhelming. Fair assessment? Don't know what it was. Is there a reason why the atmosphere seemed not very Dublin-like in Dublin? I don't know. Is there a similar issue to Twickenham, say, where tickets are out of reach for a lot of punters, and as a result that has a knock-on effect? Because I was there at the Rugby World Cup for Ireland, South Africa in Paris, and the Irish fans well, they're always amazing. The Irish fans are notoriously incredible, and just wasn't atmosphere. Maybe, well, the game, I suppose, didn't deliver, but the fans were just unusually quiet, it seemed. Even in the Irish pub that I was in, just seemed like the atmosphere was a bit... Someone knocking on the window. Am I disturbing you? Oh, sorry, it's not. That's a different house. Oh, sorry. I'm on top of someone else's. I thought, oh God, I went the wrong way. I was just doing the video on someone's roof. I thought it was the same place that we were living, but that's obviously someone else's house. Okay, that's embarrassing. Yes, anyway, let me sit down here. Sorry to that gentleman. All right, guys? I'm okay. I'm all right, thank you. Thoughts on the game? Thoughts? Can you remember anything about the game?
Yeah, not a massive amount. The New Zealand hooker was magnificent.
The New Zealand hooker, Asafo Amua. I'll come to him. Yeah, you're right.
So they didn't miss Cody Taylor.
Didn't miss Cody Taylor on this occasion. Yeah, anyway, so the whole spectacle, even the Irish pub that I was in, felt like the atmosphere was kind of muted, that people were sort of chatting rather than watching the game at one point, which is a bit of a shame given the hype that we had on that match. But let me focus on the positives. And firstly, have you seen the little comment that Rico Ioane put on Instagram today? Picture of the hacker and him leading it. And his comment was, put that in your book. So, point being, this was very, very personal for Rico Ioane. And being as he is such a key member of that New Zealand team, this game was very, very personal for the Kiwis. And didn't it feel like it? They are I think they're right now, they're the Rayburn Shield holders, aren't they? The lineal rugby champions. I think that's right. And the positives for New Zealand, some huge individual performances. As just mentioned, Asafo Amua, my goodness me, he was good again. He was magnificent again against England, and he was brilliant in this game. Cam Roigard, wow. I mean, that guy is legit. He hasn't played rugby for, what, 8 months, and he hasn't even had a full game's worth of rugby yet, and he's playing like that. He is clearly New Zealand's #1 scrum half. And he is on track to be truly world class. The difference when he came on, the tempo, the kicking, the kicking actually, his kicking's brilliant. He's all round. And him versus Antoine Dupont next weekend, I cannot wait for already. The bench for New Zealand as well was brilliant. There was Pitrak Tuapoloto was wonderful again. Ofa Tuangafasi. The bench impact for New Zealand is massive. The breakdowns were loose generally, and I didn't think Nick Berry did a particularly good job in that area, but New Zealand adapted to that. They won the battle on the floor at the breakdown. The speed of their ruck was better than Ireland's. They won the battle in the air. They had supremacy in the air, and their kicking was better. They had a lower penalty count, so they kind of just dogged it out and played a very smart, pragmatic, intelligent, mature game of rugby. And that's what I found impressive about New Zealand in the last couple of games. It's not that they have got an amazing attack and they can do some worldy things, but they just did the simple things really, really well. And that's what I found most impressive. Xavier and Satiti as a duo, when they're both on form, they are just so explosive and brilliant. D-Mac really solid, and I love the way he was running the ball to the line, but also his intelligent kicking play. He played a pragmatic game of rugby. You think about D-Mac as this guy that comes on with 20 to go and just tears it up, but he actually played a really smart tactical game of rugby, and I thought that was really impressive. And the structures and the shape, which is something you always think about with Irish rugby. When we think about Ireland's attack, they've had the best attack in world rugby for years, just in terms of the cohesion of it and the shapes. Some of New Zealand's shapes are starting to come through, and it looks really, really good. Line out, they turned it around. They got cleaned out by England last week, and they sorted their own line out and cleaned Ireland out in this game, which is a massive turnaround in just 6 days. So those are all the positives from a New Zealand point of view, albeit it was not a great game as a spectacle. It was just a very smart, mature game. Ireland, let's talk about them then. So where does this rank? I'll go around the boat, see if we can see something a bit different. Anyway, from Ireland's perspective, that was one of the worst performances in the Andy Farrell era, isn't it? I remember early on when Andy Farrell was head coach, there was some bad games. I remember, well, I mean, for one thing, at Eden Park in 2022, Ireland were terrible. And against Wales in the Six Nations, I remember a few years ago, Ireland had a particularly poor game, but that was the worst in a couple of years at least, wasn't it? It's been a while since they played that poorly. And the hype for this game just disappeared almost instantly. As much as I've been saying the New Zealand bench is brilliant, the Irish bench is poor. Or was poor, sorry, not is poor, was poor. Ian Henderson and Peter Amani just lacked a bit of punch as a result of that. And Finlay Bealham looked absolutely out on his feet when he had to come back on because of the Tom O'Toole injury. And Kieran Frawley just had one of those nights to forget. Hero in the last time he played in Durban. And he had an absolute shocker, didn't he? Rusty? Yeah, I guess you could say Ireland are rusty, like their handling, the decision-making. Is it just rustiness? They've not played in 4 months, but the problem is I looked at the previous years in November, and they're good at this time of year, our Ireland. So I don't really understand it. There's the ferry just coming in. So there's free ferries in Amsterdam that just take you across the river and across and around. It's very cool city. I like it a lot. So I've been talking about the negatives for Ireland, and let me just focus on a few positives. Their defence is so good. The fact that New Zealand had 60% possession because Ireland were making so many handling errors. New Zealand had 60% possession, and New Zealand kept them tryless for that long. Their defence is so brilliant and heroic, and I thought it was outstanding. And funnily enough, there's a couple of Kiwis on their team by birth who were the best players for Ireland comfortably. Jamison Gibson-Park is such a great player. British and Irish Lions scrum half, nailed on. He was so good. And James Lowe. Is there a player, a winger, in world rugby that is more important to their team than James Lowe is for Ireland? He's so integral to everything they do. There's another ferry just leaving. It's so cool. Just passengers, you just get on for free. You don't have to pay anything. They just take you around for free. And obviously, well, I say everyone's got a bicycle in Amsterdam. It's really cool. So yeah, James Lowe was amazing. Jamison Gibson-Park was brilliant. Line out was dreadful. There was one moment, Josh van der Fleer gets the try, 44 minutes. Geordie Barrett's off the field with a yellow card still. And Ireland have another attack, and you thought, this is it, they're going to go for it. And so many times in the past, you've seen Ireland do exactly that. They have that moment in a game, and they just make it count and they take it. And on this occasion, Ireland just did not. And that was very not like Ireland. I suppose you've got to credit New Zealand's resilience, but I don't understand. I'm trying to get my head around. And there were so many shots when it went to the coach's box and it was looking at Andy Farrell, and you could see that he was thinking, this isn't, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what the boys are up to. Don't know what they're playing at. Just a lot of stuff. Quite often, coaches are the ones that get the blame for poor games. This was one of those occasions where it was just individual errors. Just something, it was like psychologically, mentally. One of the things I talked about in the build-up to the game is how few minutes quite a few of the Irish team have had. Think about the two hookers. The Irish line-out didn't work well. Rob Herring has played no minutes for Ireland, and Ronan Kelleher has only played 11 minutes this season. And maybe just as simple as that, maybe that rustiness in key positions came through. Interesting. Not a great game. Loved the intensity, loved the storylines. I was so impressed by New Zealand, and I was thinking this could be the best game of the whole November series. That's clearly not the case, but I have actually got hopes that potentially New Zealand-France next week could be that match. That is going to be one for the ages. We'll see. We'll keep on hoping. Today there's some great games, and I'm going to go and do a bit of sightseeing, stroll around the park that Van Gogh used to paint in, and maybe go to a museum or two. Definitely a bar or two. But I'm going to go back down onto the boat now. Don't forget to leave your comments, give the video a thumbs up, hit subscribe. See you on the next one.